told you this before. When I flew back into the United States, January, what was that day? So I flew into DCA. Ronald Reagan Airport right outside of DC. And when I flew in, it was weird because there was a lot of people around. There was a lot of police officers around and a lot of military officers around, which is not that uncommon for that area because there's a lot of military and government in that area. But this time it was just like a little bit more than normal. As I was going to get my bag from the bag carousel, I noticed that everybody had started turning their phones on, and it was all these like alerts. All these people had all these alerts on their phone, and then everybody was looking at their phone, and I was like, this is weird. Something is happening. And so I turn on my phone, and then I see all this stuff like, are you okay? What's going on? Where are you? Are you in DC? Did you make it back? And at that moment, people were storming the White House or in the Capitol. And that's when all that stuff happened. So that same day I was flying in from Colombia, and I was just kind of like, this is a lot. Like, I'm ready to just go back and
chill
and like work from a beach somewhere, and or be able to work and then go out to a beach and kind of relax and not have to deal with all of this stuff that's going on in the United States right now. So that was the main thing. So when I went back there, I got a friend who was looking for a place to sublease my place. I packed like a bag of stuff, and then I just left and went back and got the room with my friends in Colombia and started traveling around Colombia, and ended up staying there for about 1.5 years, just traveling around the country and seeing all the beautiful things that they have there to offer, and actually saving money because it's so much cheaper there. The food is cheaper, traveling is cheaper. I would fly from one part of the country to another, and it would be like a $20 flight. So it was, or $20, $25 flight, and it was just much easier way to live.
Wow.
That kind of started my working and traveling long-term journey.
That's cool. Okay, so I know some of you, if you're thinking about teaching as well, if this is something you're interested in, what program did you do to transition to teaching? Yes.
Okay, so I started teaching first at a private school in Washington, D.C. And this private school in particular did not require you to have a teaching certification. So it was a very small school. It was an old school. It was one of the oldest schools in the country, but they preferred to have teachers that worked in the field and then became teachers. So you could kind of give them a certain level of expertise, the students. So I was lucky in that way.
See, and this is gold right here. You want to teach and you're like overly concerned of, oh my God, certifications. You have a profession already. You know, you're an expert at something. So you can teach, and this is a prime example right here. Okay, so you don't have to have the certification first. Yes.
Yeah. So I think first I just started looking online for different schools and different positions where, you know, you didn't need a teaching certification, but you did need to have a degree and some work experience. And that's how I found that school. And the school was lovely. It was a nice small school, so it was a good way to get started. It wasn't like a huge public school with 30 kids in the class. There were maybe like 10, some of the classes, maybe 10, 15 students, some of the classes, maybe just 5 students. And that's because I taught math and science. So it just kind of depended on who signed up for what classes and what electives like that. I also started teaching entrepreneurship and like business, finance, math, but for high school students. And so that kind of had a part to do with some of the stuff that I did as an engineer as well. So I did that for a while. And then I also, when I moved to Colombia, I also picked up an online job teaching through a company that provided online or just provided teachers for different schools, public schools, charter schools in the Philadelphia area. So that was the second job that I had. It was completely online. And it was for a teacher staffing company that would staff teachers to different schools. and they had been looking for math and science teachers in particular. Since I already had the experience from the other school and they were looking for teachers that were able to easily work online during COVID, I applied for that job and I did that. So essentially when I was in Colombia, I had 2 jobs and I was working both of them remotely online, but I still had time to like enjoy the scenery around me. I was still able to travel from place to place and like work in one month. I might be in Medellin 1 month, and then I might be in San Andres or Cartagena in another month. I also took up Spanish lessons so I could learn the language, which helped a lot because, you know, when you get to certain parts of South America and Central America, there is no English. So you have to learn the basics and at least, you know, how to order food and how to get around and all these things. So I had time to do that.
See, and this is what really sticks out about your story in general, is that you had the ability to listen to your gut, listen to your instincts. You had courage, right? You feel like you want to do something, you just went ahead and did it, right? You didn't stop yourself. You didn't say, oh, wait a second, I can't teach because. No, you said, okay, well, I want to teach, how can I do it now? And then you just Google it up. So your courage, your curiosity about life, about the things, and then your understanding of yourself and what you enjoy. Because a lot of people, you know, they get stuck in, oh my God, I'm a chemical engineer and everybody sees me as this chemical engineer. You know, how dare I try to change careers? A lot of people are stuck in that mindset. And it's like, you don't have to. If you're tired of doing something and if you want to change, do something else, it's about having the courage to say, this is what I want to do, so I'm going to at least try this. If it doesn't work, it don't work. But at least I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and try it. So this is what makes Miss Carla a fabulous person. Like, I heard her story and I was just like, oh, what? Because you embody, you have all these qualities that people can really learn from. And, you know, it was like, oh, wait a second. I don't have a teaching certification, but I can teach. See what I'm saying? It's like, now you know. So, all right.
And I will say that to me was one of the hardest things, like making that transition and doing something different. I knew I wanted to travel the world more long term, but I wasn't really sure how to do it. And most people in my family, my friends, they did not do that, or they didn't even see people doing that. So I started like researching a bunch of stuff. I saw teaching is one way, a very common way that people do it. And so I just started looking more into that. And even to this day, I would say I still have a lot of friends and family at home that are still like, what is happening with you? You know, you had a good government job. Like, why wouldn't you just ride that out or stay there and keep doing that, and instead of just doing something so unknown? You know, that was one of the hardest things. I knew I wanted to do it, but kind of like bringing my family and people in my life along with the journey is like, that was the hardest part. But it's funny because now, years later, it's like they're always looking and being motivated by where I'm at and what I'm doing, and always reaching out to say, oh, I want to do this, I want to go here, what do you know about this, and how do I do this? So it takes time, but it's just something that I knew I wanted to do.
This is wonderful, right? We're learning so much about just courage, listening to your instincts, being scared, having fear, but getting past the fear anyway. And in the end, it's like when you do what you really want to do, what's calling you in your heart, you're always going to end up better. You're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to experience things that people have never experienced, and then you become the expert later on. Okay, people are going to be asking you, hey, I want to go here. Can you give me some more information? Right? So you become a source of information and inspiration for people. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about relationships, love and dating and all of that stuff. So how was your experience kind of dating and traveling?
I would
start
say
there?
at first it was hard, but honestly, I think it was hard back in the United States as well. So dating, I think in general is just kind of not the easiest thing to do. But especially since I knew that I wanted to leave the US and start traveling the world, and I knew traveling was going to be a big part of my life, that kind of narrowed down the dating pool in the United States, because there's not a lot of people who want to do that, especially if you're like pretty established in your career and wherever you live at. There just weren't a lot of people that were really interested in that. So it was hard. So I will say, when I started traveling and meeting other travelers, it got a bit easier because we kind of had similar lifestyles and similar goals.
So that's very important, right? When it comes to any type of just dating in general, having the same values and goals and kind of knowing yourself. Because someone like me, I was married very young, so I didn't know that I was like a traveler. I had no idea, right? So, okay. So, but you're now in a relationship that's pretty amazing. And I would like to ask, how did you meet your fiance? The story's incredible. Just listen. Grab some tea, grab something to snack or something. Yes.
Okay, so I was in Sayulita, Mexico for quite a few months. I was working from there. I had another friend of mine. We were living together in an apartment right off the beach. It was beautiful. I was working in the morning, going surfing in the afternoon, or going to the beach or doing a hike. And so after she left, I stayed on the same type of schedule, but I would meet different people. And I ended up meeting this guy at a Selena randomly. It was actually Christmas Eve, and they had like a big Christmas potluck type of thing. So a lot of people were bringing food or cooking food, and they had like a DJ and just like something to do for Christmas for any travelers that were around in the area. And so I went to that, and then I saw this guy who was like 6'7", and he was like super tall, and I was like, oh, okay, who's that? And then we just started talking. I think we went out for pizza a couple days later, went out for a drink a couple days after that, ended up going out for a drink and just telling each other our whole life stories randomly, like one night. And then decided to go to a different city, Guadalajara.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So big city. I had been in Sayulita for a while, and I wanted to see something different. So I was like, maybe I'll go to Guadalajara for New Year's after Christmas. And he was like, oh, I might be in Guadalajara also. So I end up going to Guadalajara for New Year's. I meet him, we go out for New Year's, and we just start seeing the sights in Guadalajara, went on a few hikes, went to a few museums, and then we just started going to different places. We went to Tequila, and then we just started saying, okay, let's go here. So then we just decided to go to another place, and then we went to another place, and then another. So we just started traveling together, and then we're still traveling together. Now we're in Vietnam, but we've been together for a little over 2 years now, maybe 2.5 years. And within that time, we've been to about 6-7 countries together.
That's love. Yes. Okay.
And I was surprised that he was an American or from the US, because, I just didn't think, for some reason at one point I thought I was just going to end up with somebody that was not from the US. But he's also from the US, and he also is a teacher. He was in the Peace Corps. So he's traveled around the world teaching. He taught in China for quite a few years and was in Timor-Leste in the Peace Corps. So we were traveling through Mexico, Guatemala, Belize. Then we decided to come over to this side of the world and give it a shot teaching in person, kind of after COVID was pretty much done with. I had never really been to Asia at all, so I wanted to check it out and see what it was like teaching there. And so we both decided to come over here. Last year we taught in Cambodia for a year, small town called Campat, and now we both teach in Hanoi, Vietnam.
So how is your experience, or how has your experience been teaching in Cambodia and Vietnam. How is that compared to teaching in the U.S. and
other places? I will say it's different. It's just the whole culture is different. So that's something that, I'm still getting used to, even though I've been here over a year, maybe over a year and a half now. The culture is very different. Vietnam in particular has its own unique culture. I will say it's not as diverse as I thought it was going to be, and this country was very closed for quite a long time. So they're kind of like just getting back into tourism and things to do here. There are quite a few English teachers here, but there's not a lot of Americans here. So most of the English speakers are from Australia or from England or South Africa. I would say Americans are in the minority for that. So I think that couldn't be a good thing because we do have an accent that people would like. So it's not hard getting a job, but it is very different. So the culture is very different. It's not as diverse as the United States is, definitely, or even just all of the Americas.
Right.
So that took some getting used to. We are both very tall. So here, like I'm 5'10", he's 6'7". So here we're like giants. So people literally see us in the street and they're like, or they want to take pictures all the time. It's like intense for a lot of people. So that took some getting used to. Also, the culture with education is different. So here they're really big into education. They go to school during the day. Before school, they might have a tutor. After school, they go to another school, maybe an English school. So that is very different than back at home where you just go to school and the kids barely want to go to school there. Here it's like their job is school. And I've taught some classes, pretty much kindergarten classes that go until 9 o'clock at night. And that's a common thing here. So very different. Very different.
Similar in China. It's like when it comes to school, that's what you're doing. Morning, noon, and night. Wow, okay.
Yeah. They have like a dinner that they bring, a second lunch or dinner for their evening school classes, which is crazy to me because it's like you're eating a whole dinner at school.
Yeah, it's a lot. Are the kids respectful?
I would say, yes, they're respectful. I think in general over here, they take school more seriously. Most of the students are very respectful. Depends on the grade. I would say I've done middle school. That's the weirdest. No matter where you are, middle school is, I think, the hardest. It's like the hardest grade to teach because like they're just coming into their hormones. They haven't gotten used to them yet. So high school is a little bit easier, but middle school, they're still small children, but they're trying to be more adult-like. So it's a mix. It's a weird mix. But I will say in general, they are very respectful. They are interested in what America is like. So there's a lot of questions about that. A lot of people know our culture, but they don't really know that much about it in like the day-to-day life. They might see things on TV, like they know the memes, they know all the memes, they know all the slang, but they've never actually heard someone use it in front of them with the American accent or with the context, like in the right way. So they're kind of fascinated by that, which is pretty cool.
Nice. Okay. What's next?
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like right now I'm in Hanoi. It is actually pretty warm here.
It's hot.
Yeah.
I won't be here long because of the weather.
Yeah.
I like melting.
Yeah.
Here.
I think yesterday it was like 104.
102, 104, something
like that.
Crazy.
So they do have a very hot summer, which I'm not really looking forward to. But when I first got here, it was about 65 degrees, which is like a nice jacket weather. And I hadn't felt that in at least 3 years because I had always been living in places that were very hot or right by the ocean. So when I first came here, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty nice. Like, I wouldn't mind staying here for a while before it got hot. So, but now I feel like the other main reason why I came here was because I wanted to see the northern part and the middle part of Vietnam. We had come here before. First thing, we went to Ho Chi Minh City, which is super intense, especially if that's your first time in Southeast Asia or in Asia in general. Like, that's like a really intense place to go first. So I wouldn't recommend that. But it's hot there all year round.
Right.
And so I was like, this is just too much. Mm-hmm. After that, we went to Cambodia, which is a bit more chill, but it's still very hot. They have a rainy season and a dry season. And I actually like the rainy season better because it's a little cooler, but it's still pretty hot. So after that, we took a little vacation for a few months. We were in Thailand, and then we were in Malaysia for a bit, just like chilling, not teaching at all, maybe some online classes here and there. But then I was like, I want to go back to Vietnam and see the northern part of Vietnam. I want to see Sapa. I want to see certain parts of the loop that people do. I want to see Da Nang, which is in the middle, and Hoi An, which is supposed to be beautiful and have really good food. So for now, I want to see these places, and that's why I'm here in Vietnam. After I see everything that I want to see, I don't know really where I want to go to next. I'll probably just like look and see what's out there and put out some feelers, look for different jobs, maybe start doing more online work so I can travel a bit more and not have to stay in one place and work like in person as much. So that's the plan. It's like the plan is no plan.
Yeah, which is wonderful, right? It's like that's what keeps life exciting. It's like, all right, well, I'm going here for now, and then afterwards, who knows? All right, so let's talk food.
Okay.
All right, let's talk food. Because if you've been following me, you know that I've been having some issues with the food in Australia. Not all of Australia, but Melbourne in particular, with the GMO situation happening. I'm loving the food here. I would like to ask Miss Carla first how she enjoys the food here, and then I want to know like what's the best cuisine you've had, like where, and you know what I'm saying? What's a place where you went and you sat down and you ate and you were just like, ugh, you know, you have to like throw yourself back and you know, wait a second.
Okay. All right. Well, I like the food here. I will say Vietnamese food is a very like fresh tasting type of food. They use a lot of the natural flavors of like, you know, lemongrass, lemons, basil, these types of things. They use a lot of natural herbs. And so I like how they put these things together. You can kind of taste all of those flavors, and it is very light. Pho, I love pho, of course. I feel like I eat it every few days, every 2-3 days.
Yes.
And then everywhere you go is different too.
Right.
So every restaurant has their own recipe and their own thing that they give you. The people here are also very nice as far as they want you to try their food. Yeah. They want you to come in. They might give you a plate of something extra just to go with it, just so you have a good time enjoying their food. So I will say I do like the food here. And as I travel, I want to travel around Vietnam and kind of see how the food is different in different locations.
Yeah. She needs a YouTube channel.
I know.
Yes.
Coming soon.
Yes.
Coming soon.
Yes.
But I will also say I love Thai food as well.
Oh yeah.
I love Thai food. Like that was the main attraction for me. That and the beaches, of course, but the food was very good. I also found a Caribbean restaurant that was amazing in Phuket, and I went there a bunch of times.
Nice.
There was a local, it's not local, there's a guy who moved there, he started a restaurant. He was from Guadeloupe. Phenomenal chef. And there's just like little gems everywhere. So I would say, yeah, food is amazing here. I do travel for food as well. So that's one of the best parts.
Okay, so besides Vietnam, and Thailand, was there any other country where, you know, the food took your breath away? Like,
yes, a few actually. I can remember. I remember all the meals I've had. So I will say Kenya is one place where the food was phenomenal. Like everything I ate was really good. It was seasoned well. I didn't know half of the stuff I was eating, but I loved everything. All the food was good. I was in Nairobi for a while, which is a huge city. So they had all these amazing restaurants. Then I went out to Safari, where they had good food there too. But I would say Kenya, to me, has some of the best food I've ever tasted.
Kenya's next.
Where else?
So when you traveled to Africa, though, you weren't by yourself?
No, I went with my best friend who lives we went to high school and college together. She's from Philadelphia as well. We've been best friends since the 9th grade. We both love to travel. She's a doctor, actually. She's super smart. But she loves to travel as well, and she works at a hospital, so her schedule is interesting. She has like 2 weeks off at a time, sometimes 3 weeks off at a time, and like 2 weeks on. So she can take extended trips more than most people. So we would travel to different places. We went to Egypt together, I think for my birthday, and then I was like, I want to see another part of Africa. Let's go to Kenya, but during this time. And she was just like, all right, let's do it.
See, that's friendship right there, okay? Like, let's do it. Nice.
Another place, I will say one of the best meals I've ever had also was in San Andres, which is a small island that Colombia owns, but it's actually very close to Nicaragua. But it's a small place. A lot of people don't really know about it. I never knew about it until I was in Colombia traveling around, and everybody was like, you got to go to San Andres. You got to go to San Andres. It's beautiful. And so I went there and I was like, oh, this is amazing. So I ended up staying there for like months because it was just an amazing place. Colombia owns it now. I think Nicaragua used to own it back in the day. They're always kind of like fighting over it. But the locals on this island, they don't speak Spanish, and they're all kind of like of Jamaican descent, and they're kind of like Rastas. So they speak a Jamaican dialect. Kind of, it's not as strong as a patois, but it's similar. It's a similar type of Caribbean English. And so, of course, I made friends really fast here. And there was this one place that I would go to right in the middle of the island. There was a lake, and they had like crocodiles and stuff out there, and just like a lot of animals, but a lot of them lived around this area. And so we would go chill all the time. And one day they said they were going to make me and a few of my friends this meal that they make all the time. And it's like kind of like a gumbo, but it was like a coconut milk based gumbo. And so they're known for their free diving. And so they had a couple divers go and just like catch some food. They had some seafood that they caught that day. So it was super fresh. Of course, we had to help them prepare, clean everything.
Nice.
Yeah, it was like a whole day thing of us helping them cook, going with the people to catch the stuff. And they're like, oh, we got this today. So we were like, okay, this is what we're putting into our stew type of thing. They had seafood. It was a coconut milk base. There was a lot of seasonings, very delicious. What was it? Yams and sweet potatoes. Everything was from their own garden. Everything they cooked themselves. True Rastas, so they don't believe in leaving any trash. Any parts of the food that we didn't eat, their animals ate it. So it was just like a whole day thing, and we made enough food for like maybe 25 people because we ended up delivering the food to different people in the neighborhood, and it was just like an amazing experience, an amazing day, and some of the best food I've ever had in my life. So
like, what more is there to say? Like, that's what life's about to me. Okay, leave your comments down below if you agree. This is what community is. Everybody chips in. You aren't just sitting there being waited on. It's like you got involved in cooking the food and catching the food and enjoying the food and then giving it to your neighbors and the community. Fabulous.
Yeah, that was an amazing day.
Yeah, man. Has there been anywhere that you felt unsafe?
So I would say, I think the most dangerous place was probably Colombia that I was in. But I did feel safe in Colombia. A lot of people are always like, oh, it's like not safe there. You have to be careful. I will say when you go to the major cities, you do have to be careful, just like any other major city in the world. I started in Cartagena, which is by the Atlantic coast. I went to Medellin, which is right in the middle with all the mountains. I was in Bogota before for just a brief period. I would say Bogota is probably the most dangerous place, okay. But I didn't really spend much time there. I was just passing through. Cali is another place people say is very dangerous, but to me, it was like, that's where I kind of blended in the most because people are more brown like me. So I was fine. Yeah, I felt completely safe in Colombia. I am from Philadelphia, so
that's right. Tri-state.
Yes, I'm used to having street smarts and being in a major city and not just like pulling my money out or making myself a target. For someone else, they might not be used to that, so it might be a little bit harder for them. But for me, I was fine. And then also me being a woman, I felt like it was probably more safe for me than some of the men because I knew a lot of guys who, would get robbed or people who would go out and drink a lot and be drunk in public. That makes you a target. And people like this would get robbed often. Even going to the ATM, I knew people who had to go in like groups, but I went to the ATM whenever I needed to. I just made sure I was paying attention, just basic things that I would do back in Philadelphia. Or in Washington, D.C., the same type of thing. I will say Colombia is one of those places similar to the major cities in the United States where you can tell, certain parts, you can tell like drugs hit hard there.
Okay.
Maybe 20 years ago, still people doing drugs and doing stuff now, but you can tell like this is a place where, the crack epidemic hit hard, all that stuff hit hard. So that was one thing I noticed. When I first got there, I was like, oh yeah, this reminds me of North Philly a little bit, that one part,
wow.
certain parts. So I noticed that there is a big drug influence there in Colombia. And a lot of people do go there just to party and have fun, but you have to be careful with that because that definitely makes you a target. Me, on the other hand, I wanted to see the country. Colombia is one of the only countries that is a small country, but they have the Pacific coast, they have the Atlantic coast, they have mountains, they have valleys. I went to Salento, which is one place that has all these huge valleys with horses, and it just looks beautiful. They have hot springs there. They just have a lot of different, they have a part of the rainforest there that you can go to. There's a lot of natural things inside of Colombia that a lot of people don't take advantage and go see them. But when I was there, I was doing a lot of traveling because it was, one, cheap to travel, and two, they had a lot of things to offer for you to see. So I definitely did that. They had some amazing parks that I went to where you could like go in, hike for a few days, hike through like 3 or 4 different beaches within this park, camp out there, and just see like some beautiful sights. This one park, Tyrona Park, they had indigenous people that still live in that area. You could see them just doing their thing within this park area. I say park, but it's really like a huge forest area, where it's like people live in there. Nice. There's multiple beaches in there, but it's like little stuff like that people don't really think about or go to or visit when they go to places like that. Same thing with Mexico. Mexico is a huge country. Like, it is huge. There's a lot of different parts of Mexico. There's not just the Yucatan Mexico City and Cancun. There's so much, in Tulum, there's so much more than that. One of my favorite parts of Mexico, I love the west coast of Mexico, of course, but also Oaxaca, which is in the middle of Mexico, is very beautiful. If you go down to their beaches, they have some of the most beautiful beaches in Mexico. They have mountains, and then Oaxaca City is where they have the Day of the Dead celebrations, and they have authentic, like real authentic Mexican food. And I was also blown away by the art in Mexico. I didn't realize there were so many artists and so much art in Mexico. Oaxaca City is one of those places where you can't go one block without seeing murals, like beautiful, huge murals all around, all types of art galleries or just like random people making art, drawing on the street. It's like a very much an artist place. And I always tell people, or artists or writers or creators, if you want to go somewhere and feel inspired, go to Oaxaca City, because that's a place where it's easy to get inspired there.
Fabulous. I want to try to take my son there because he's an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta grab him.
Yeah.
Come here.
Yeah.
Fabulous. This is the real Indiana Jones right here. You see what I'm saying? We all learned so much. If people want to reach out to you.
Sure. You can follow me on Instagram at KBoogie with the hoodie.
Alright.
Or on Facebook as well, Carla with the K, ARLA Hawkins. I guess you can.
Yeah, and I'll have the
Yeah.
link. Okay, so I'll have the link in the description.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to reach out, you have questions or what have you. This has been wonderful. Don't stop yourself. If you feel the calling to go somewhere to see something different, do it.
Yeah.
Just do it like Nike. Seriously. That's all for now. We just had a wonderful interview with Miss Carla.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are. We're in Hanoi. We're signing off right now. So if you like what you see and you're feeling the vibe, then subscribe and join the tribe. And until next time, peace.
Peace.